Happy New Year and welcome to another year, another episode of the RugbyBits podcast. As some of us took some time off, I'm hoping you guys are excited to hear from us again. It's been a fantastic holiday, I'm sure, for all of us. I'm testament to that. I'm feeling a little bit sick. We got Shark, he was back, so he's managed to shave off his holiday beard. Tyler's moved back to South Africa, so lots happened in the last few weeks, but RugbyBits is back. Quite a bit of summer rugby on, and it's great to be back. Gentlemen, Sharky, Tyler, Sharky, Happy New Year and welcome back.
Hi, bro. Happy New Year to you too and everyone else. I've been slogging the whole way through, so I have enjoyed some phenomenal weather, but I've been working. So yeah, there's that. But you guys have been jolling. Tyler's moved continents again. You've been on holiday, then you've been working, then you got sick. It's all happening, bro.
No, it's all action. Tyler, how you been? You're back in the Republic, finding the same timeline.
I'm back in the Republic, back in the South African summer. It's good to be back home. It was fun, obviously, uh, in Europe, but yeah, it's good to be back where people are. I think one of the first things I saw when I reactivated my DSTV was a advert Kooks was on. So I was like, this guy really won't. He's like everywhere on TV these days. Like Kooks, you're just a superstar now.
As long as you come home with a nice taste of home by hearing my voice or seeing me there, so that at least you know that I'm back. But lads, I mean, there's been a lot of rugby on since we've been gone, a lot of summer rugby, a lot of derbies. I happened to find myself in Cape Town on the weekend watching the Stormers taking the Bulls. I actually caught two Stormers games in the holidays. I watched them against Toulon in PE as well. So I feel like I've been the Stormers traveling roadshow. Um, Funny enough, with about 5 minutes to go, I was so excited for this pod to start again. I was like, oh, the Sharks have won three in a row. This is exactly what we need to get momentum going. And then Hashim Pete scored. I was like, I'm not going to podcast until the box season start, basically. And then I sort of pulled myself towards myself because the Bulls also can't win a game. So I figured we were all here in distress. I mean, it's been a tough summer for our teams, boys.
Yeah, it's I actually watched quite a bit of Premiership rugby over December, which has helped me. Um, because I'm telling you, South Africans, you know, they say that in every room there's an idiot, and if you don't know who the idiot is, it's you. Um, like in every rugby tournament, there are Australian derbies, and South Africans we used to take great pride in ripping the hell out of the Aussies because the Aussie derbies were just something everyone hated and despised. But we've got to be honest, we are the Australian derbies of the URC.
I mean,
Yeah, you can let me go here.
can
Like
I,
this is just it's been an absolute dog show, like watching some of the rugby over the summer, and I don't think it's going to improve. It's just not workable to play rugby in 30 odd degree heat. Like the Stormers Bulls game had 23 handling errors and 29 penalties. Like I don't know what we're doing here. And it's just it doesn't build momentum. It's obviously very hard for like players to sort of build phases. The Springboks are probably just about tired because they played a whole sort of slate of test matches and haven't really had a good break yet. It's, like over 30 degrees, even if we play them at the coast. Then, yeah, I mean, I need to speak about the man of the match thing. I think we need to stop this fan voting man of the match situation, guys. It's not working. The only good thing about it is we have a losing player having to do man of the match interviews, which is, I think, some of the most hilarious content you can always get in sports is now someone having to act happy or act sad, even though they're happy with their own performance, or act happy, even though they're sad about their team losing. So I think we had two this weekend with Grant Williams and Ambrose Papier. And I just don't think it also works because I mean, you can obviously tell us more, but I think the nominations have to be done like at half time. And sometimes you're just like, how are these guys nominated? Because I don't think you have the full picture of the game. And then obviously it's fan voting and that becomes a mess as well. Like, I don't really know how any of the halfbacks in the Stormers Bulls game were nominated, and obviously one of them won player of the match and was the person on the losing side. So yeah, I don't know. I would if there was a way, and I have maybe some ideas that we'll talk about later in this pod. If there's a way for us to not play rugby in like December, Jan, the vibes are great. I mean, the crowds were fantastic, but the product on the field, it's like Shaun said, it's giving Western Force versus Rebels on a Saturday afternoon.
I think
If only if only we could go back to 2015 to like maybe a Rugby World Cup and see Joe Launchbury receiving his Man of the Match award when England lost to Australia and was subsequently knocked out of their own World Cup that they were hosting before the knockout games via fan vote. If only we could use that as a reference to help us make better decisions moving forward.
well, my favorite is Sharky is that I think it's by 16. I haven't worked in a rugby production for a while. And I think it's by the 60th minute. I know in the cricket it's like 15th over or something similar like that. But it's just funny to me because like if you're sitting there, if you're like Andre Rudolph, you're basically going, so fuck me, basically. Going the fans are going like, yeah, so basically fuck me for being the best player on the field. And he was fantastic. I mean, if there's ever a losing man in the match, it's then. But it's just funny, like that game was. I mean, like the game on Saturday, like it was such a contrast I think when they played the game in PE, obviously it was more free flowing, I mean, not running rugby. Stormers are doing this sneaky little thing. Like they're playing very, very good rugby, but they've still got like increments of like last season where it's like we're just gonna goof troop our way around, and then there's someone, and then but then they'll be like, okay, cool, last 10 minutes, let's be mature, and then find a way to win the game, like with a more. I'm still trying to see where Galant is gonna hit a ruck, or cause a ruck or get tackled. That's my new favorite thing to do now is like to watch him and go like, will he allow himself? Because he's gonna offload or he's gonna kick it, but he's never gonna take it into contact and then go down. And it works 7 times out of 10.
That's rugby.
Don't get me wrong, he's phenomenal. But there's times where like when I remember when the Stormers had an overlap against the Bulls, and you just like catch and pass, and you just like just flick it on, and you just like they just go, it goes behind everyone, and you just like, Warwick, that's. But then the second half, he goes and creates a chance out of nothing. Then you go, boogie! And you're just like, oh, it's like an emotional roller coaster. But it's just funny, like, with I mean, Sash's got this new spin thing he does now, which works. It worked in the game in P. The Bulls, the first time money break, the second time got absolutely smashed. I was like, but then you're watching these games, and Charlie's right. Like you're at a stadium, it's full, it's bumping. I mean, the first 20 minutes was like an old school trials. The game was basically played between the two 22s, and the Oaks are just taking the living shit of each other. But then after a while, you get to a point you're like, okay, this is wow, this is great. Physicality is up, the box are up for this game. Then you're going, it's no. Okay, so let's look for a bit of quality here. And that's when he goes, then the period from like the 30th minute to about the 60th minute, you're like, I don't know what we're watching here, to be honest with you, but it's not rugby here. Then Cedric could kick a goal, Henrik could kick a goal. I was like, oh, I went and got a beer. And the worst part is I'm like, what did I miss? They're like, nothing. Like Henrik missed twice. I was like, oh, not even like a moment of magic. No, nothing. It's 8-5. Like, hey, game on, I guess. And you're just like, you're begging someone to win it. And then you watch the Sharks game. My mate sends you a message and he goes, the Sharks have snatched the loss from the jaws of victory. I was like, yeah, pretty much. And you go, the Sharks, same old. But like, you tell us right, I mean, summer rugby, it hasn't lived up to what we want it to be. I think it's been great. I think it's been when the European sides have played, it's been kind of better because they bring something different in terms of a different field, different crowd. So you get excited when you see different players. And, when you see, like when I went to the Stormers game, I could see Toronto's last year's game, see La Rochelle, they bring something different. But sometimes with these derbies, you just like, it's trials, but then some like at least for me, the Bulls game and the Stormers game the physicality was incredible. So that was cool, just watching Oaks absolutely decimate each other. So that was fun. I mean, at the end of the day, I am a Springbok fan, so unfortunately, you gotta enjoy Oaks just being physical and be like, you know what, we'll deal with the quality once the sun goes down.
Yeah, look, I think you're right about the physicality. It felt personal between some of the Springboks, which was fantastic. It's nice that even if these guys have been playing like with each other for what, 8, 9, 10 years, they still find a way to motivate themselves. And there's a lot of sort of chat and hits and everything. I was feeling so sorry for the poor like Jean-de Rudolphs and Ron Ackermans, who obviously aren't in the Springbok setup. They're like, what is happening here? Why is everyone taking this so personal? Like, what have we missed here? And sort of getting sort of hit by a stray there. Um, on sort of the Galan Sasha thing, like I it's hilarious watching those two play, and it's hilarious seeing like Damian Willemse be the responsible adult now. Like he's now the senior player trying to calm people down. He's the captain now. He's less mouthy as he has been maybe before with referees. Like he has to be sort of the more mature one. And look, bless Sasha. Obviously, we're big fans of Sasha on the show, but like this guy was having an absolute honker of a game, and he's still going to be nominated for Player of the Match. He's still going to have the most defenders beaten. He's still going to have like amazing stats and still sort of create one of like the highlight players of the game. Like this guy is Teflon right now. Nothing can touch him. I like he's at this point now, I think, with how his form is that I fully expect him to kind of like Arsenal had this game now this weekend where Gabriel, the defender, gave away the ball for a goal and then he scored a goal like a few minutes later. I just expect Sasha to do that. Like
Yeah.
to do that Chesn Kobe like in goal dropout and then the next minute sort of do what he did against Argentina where he chases the ball himself from a kick and score. Like he's I think the kids call it he's like narrative proof. Like nothing can touch him narrative wise because he will always overcome it with like an amazing performance. And then very quickly on the Sharks Lions game, I think the weird thing, and Sean, I remember you were asking about it because you missed the second half, and I said, look, it felt like a game where both teams could have won it and could have and or should have won it and should have lost it at the same time. It was so confusing because when the Lions were up, they weren't scoring the points and punishing the Sharks with like their ascendancy. And then the Sharks got into the 22, like in the last like 30 or so minutes, couldn't punish the Lions. And then ultimately the Lions are the ones that win the game. Like, yeah, it was so confusing. And it was just like dramatic in a way, but also just like these guys are just not serious right now, like in terms of just putting in like multiple phases of good rugby together to get the tries. Like just people weren't able to do that. I mean, we've known for decades now about Durban and humidity and how difficult it is. And it's so funny that even the Durban team tries to throw the ball in the air when I'm like, you guys should be playing like great weather rugby and doing rolling malls and everything, and you have the pack to do it. But no, they don't want to do that. That's fine. But it was just a bit of a sort of a crazy rugby day. I look, at least we got some big tackles from it. The games were dramatic and came down to the last moments, which is nice. But geez, it is. I don't know who this is serving anymore because it feels like a slog for the players. They're sweating. There's no more water breaks. I don't know where the water breaks have gone. Like, can these guys at least get a water break after 20 minutes? There's none of that. And yeah, it feels like people are barely holding on to the end.
No, I'll tell you, I agree with you. Bring back water breaks. Bring bring back. Even though, I mean, the derbies they're here to stay, which is fine. I can live with it if they're here to stay. But I think obviously, I tell you right, the Sharks game, the first half for me summed up the Sharks season. Because the first 20 minutes I was like, well, okay, Sharks are back to normal. They don't feel like tackling anymore. Then they come back in the game and show like class, like, oh, here we go. This is the team I know. And then they lose. You're like, oh, I guess. Like my favorite thing about the Sharks, even like and Jay Pearson's done a fantastic job. I still don't know how the Sharks are going to win rugby games. And like I can't walk up to you and say, in order for Sharks to win, they're going to do this, and this. They're going to play this way. This is what they're trying to do. It's just going. We're going to scrum well. I know it might have a crazy game. Fast might have a great game, and then we'll sort of figure it out from there. But it's been a wild weekend. I must say before we get started, guys, I was watching Ronald Kier quite watching Ronald Kier on Saturday. He's that guy, man. He just rolls out of bed and just goes to work. It's not pretty. It's not flashy. I can't remember when last he's had a bad game. I was watching him go about his work on Saturday, and I was like, this guy is like that bottom of five jersey is his. Like you're gonna find harder because like he doesn't do anything to let you down. And I know the talks about his size, but he really impressed me watching him again. I was just like so excited. Like he had a great season last year. And now start this year, first game of the year, he looks even better. So he just was a special shout out, and so does Paul de Villiers because he came on and did one of the most incredible turnovers. But the ref, I won't even get to the ref on Stormers Bulls game, and I won't even get to that because that was
How
guys.
many times are you going to turn to a team or any in a game to teams and be like, if he speaks to me again, you can't speak to me like that. I'm like, it's more than 3 times, or it's definitely more than 2 times that he said that. Like, you say it once and then you start dishing out punishment and then it'll stop. I can guarantee you. Like, but on the derbies, like they're a sellout. So
Yeah,
there's that. So they're a sellout. The vibe is pretty good. If only the rugby could get up to that level, I think, like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know, but yeah, not sure, man. It's like I don't even know what to say or where to say it.
but when surely you said it is that they are sellout, so people are going. So I think obviously this is will get it better. Refereeing, refereeing URC in general,
But
but
yeah, yeah, like the Bullstormers, I'll be honest, I expected more out of that game.
yeah,
It was quite disappointing. Um, from if you look at some individuals and what you wanted out of them and what you wanted out of the teams, it didn't really come through. So, to be fair to the Stormers, it's unusual for them to be like that this season. And if the Stormers had been in that level, the Bulls would have probably lifted them. Like, that's how that vibe works. The Sharks are the Sharks. We're used to it. We know it. It is what it is. Like, yeah,
it is.
whatever, man.
I also think the Bulls are desperate, and they played like a desperate side. As I mean, they defended. I mean, way better than they have in the last few weeks or the whole season. And I think the Stormers they kind of brought the Stormers back down to their level. But again, the Stormers found a way to win that more. I mean, tough scenes for a Bulls fan to the try you consider then is far more like a 20-meter more. That's tough to watch. But we do have a special edition of the RugbyBits podcast. We're going to do our predictions for the year, which we'll come back to at the end of the year and probably laugh at how wrong we've gotten and hopefully or celebrate how right we've gotten it. But I'm going to ask the gents a few predictions to make to start the year off and see how we go over the competitions, players. They don't know what I'm going to ask them, so I'm going to catch them off guard. I think Tyler, the first prediction I think you're going to ask is, will the Bulls win a rugby game this year?
Wow, thanks, Kooks. Thanks. Yeah, I wanted to also do a Bulls rant, but I was figuring it would sort of come out of this thing. It's a bit different from the Sharks problem, where I'm just like, I'm not 1,000% sure what the Sharks plan is. Like, I think we all know now that like basically teams get like a binder of like moves and okay, this is what we call this zone. If we're in this zone, we'll go in 2-4-2 formation and we're gonna go for 9, we're gonna go for 10, we're gonna kick if we get into the 22. I think I understand what the Bulls are trying to do. I just am not sure how it's coming out. It's like the product is less than the sum of its parts. Like we have all these amazing players that have all played like high quality rugby for the Springboks, like players that are maybe even threatening world class level, and the product's just not there. Like we have a very good scrum, even that was a bit dodgy this week, and that's it. So yeah, we're not really getting the benefit of a kicking game from Leroux and Pollard. We're not getting the benefit of a running game from, Leroux and Creel and those sort of players. We're not getting the benefit of a big defensive game. I mean, Rudolph tried his best, but it's not like he's being maybe as supported by everyone, even if like Nokia is also trying his best. the attack isn't really like we had the attack at the start of the season, but that sort of regressed now. And the defense has just been a problem the whole season. I think this is one of the few matches we haven't conceded more than like I think it's 20 points that we've conceded in every game except for this one this weekend. So yeah, Johan Ackermann's a lot of pressure. I think because this is a team that has been to two URC finals in a row and lost them, of course. But they've been the most consistent team in the URC. And right now we're close to halfway in the season, and it doesn't look like we will be in the top four unless we go on a crazy run. So Cooks, you would hope a team as strong as the Bulls obviously will turn things around. We know that the Bucks are also going to have to go on a break in a few weeks. I just am not sure if we can put ourselves in a position where we're playing at home, have at least quarterfinals and semifinals at Loftus, and then give ourselves the best chance to get to a URC final. I don't think that's possible now. So, what will come out of a season where we made a win now change between Jake White and Johan Ackermann? We've bought in a player like Andre Pollard, and we're going to finish behind the Lions and Benetton? That doesn't sound right.
No, not at all. And Sharky, to add on to the Bulls situation, I want you to make a prediction as well for the year. Which other member of the coaching staff do you think will be coaching the Bulls in the next couple of weeks as well, seeing the three already? So do you think we'll see Rusty Erasmus in the mix? Do you think Stalker's going to get involved?
That's exactly what I was gonna say. Like while we're here, there's gonna be a fallout. Uckers is gonna be sent away, or Uckers is gonna be told that he's going to get Nzwandile Stick in. Sticky's gonna come in. He's gonna fix some things, and then he'll go straight back to the top of the list of people who are going to coach the Springboks when Rassie leaves. So it's almost going to work out well.
It's good. Shame. I do feel bad for Akers. Obviously, like, he's like the scapegoat and he's feeling the wrath, but I just do feel like a lot like the Bulls is the best. It just needs to breathe. I mean, I never thought the Jake White stocks would be still rising in 2020, still 2026. I mean, you'd love to be where
Jasper Visser himself.
Jasper Visser.
We need to create a Jasper Visser trophy for someone whose stocks will rise when they are not doing anything.
When they're not supposed to rise.
Exactly. But listen, you 100% right. I think Johan Ackermann, I think the worst part about this whole situation is everyone is just going for the low-hanging fruit, and that's just to blame Ackermann. Like, he's the face of all the change that has happened, and they're like, so it's obviously him. And there was issues before. Listen, it's the same as everything with Jake White. Like, everyone wants him gone until he's gone. And then everyone's like, well, hang on a second. So then you have the conversation, like, did he damage things so much that it's going to take a while to come better? Or was he actually onto something and this new coach has got to cut his teeth? But it just seems weird the way the whole Ackermann thing came in with, like, how did that conversation happen with him coming in and taking over all the assistant coaches? Was that like, did he agree with that, or did he take the job knowing that that would happen, or was it part and parcel of what went on? How involved was he in getting rid of them? And like, when it gets to that point, like, people are hurtful. So does it start from fresh now, where he's like, cool, I've got new people in, so therefore I have until the end of the season? Doesn't work like that because the pressure's there for real.
Yeah, it's giving Steve Borthwick. You don't want to be giving Steve Borthwick with your coaches, like when coaches are coming in and out and shaking all about. So, yeah, I mean, it was just, yeah, maybe also because it happened over December, it was just so confusing to follow. Like, I tried to take like a little bit of a break from like following sports a little, like over that sort of December period. Obviously, now that's like an active period in South African rugby. So then two assistant coaches get fired. Neil de Bruyn comes in. It didn't occur to me until like recently that he's obviously related to Swace, which is hilarious. I was like, did everyone know this? Was I the only one? And then obviously
I was also like, what the hell?
But then now, obviously, this whole Bok assistant coach controversy happens as well. Yeah, it's weird because Ackermann wasn't appointed in the middle of a season. Like, he had enough time to bring in his own coaching staff to, build his team, and firing people in the middle of a season, hiring, I guess the people that you want, this arrangement with the Bok assistant coaches, like I don't like it's it's not something that gives confidence to Bulls fans.
You
I
know
don't
what
know
it
how
smells
much.
like? It smells a lot like the Lions. It
Yeah, you see now.
it
So
smells a lot
it's
like the Lions when Cash was brought in, and you kind of like, oh, there's decisions being made here, not from a rugby point of view, but it looks like it's a financial point of view, these decisions. And the Bulls are starting to look
yeah.
like that.
Look, from what I've seen, from what reporters said, which means it has happened because reporters pretty much second only to the Bible in terms of saying what has happened. Like it seems like there was a falling out between like Becker and Rousseau and Johan Ackermann. So that brings so many questions up. Like, how did that happen? Was it about the play structure? Like, is Ackerman trying to change things? I don't see too much like in terms of massive changes in how the Bulls are playing last season versus this. But obviously things just the things that were connecting the Bulls game, which was, the strong forwards, being strong in contact, building to the kicking game, and then basically allowing your playmakers to do what they want almost, not in a goof troop way, but just allowing the likes of Leroux and Johannes and
Della freeze on us.
Creel to put people into space. That's just not happening anymore. Game have just become, and I don't know if the Bok, I'm thinking from a perspective of a Marcel Coetzee or a Marco van Staden. You've literally now in the last few months or last month have had 4 or 5 different coaches come in and say things or come out and all that sort of stuff. You've had Chris Rousseau, Baker. You've had Jan Akkermans now sort of coaching the forwards. You've had Dwayne Vermeulen and Felix Jones come in. Like, what is the message? What is the plan that the Bulls are trying to play every week? Because it's, yeah, it's just such a messy season. Again, this is a team that was in the URC final last season. Like, and I think most people would have predicted that it would have been at least in the semifinals. Like, this is not supposed to happen.
No, definitely not. And I agree with you. But our next prediction is still URC based. I'm so do you, Sharky. Sharky, do you think we'll have more than one SA side in the playoffs? You've got the Bulls just as hang on the line with the Lions, they in the mix, the Sharks obviously is in the mix, but the Stormers, I mean, at number one, you think by now they will have more than enough to be in the playoffs. But do you think Sharky will have more than one side? And if we do, how many sides do you think will have in the playoffs and which of those sides?
I I'm gonna say no, and we've like don't all the sides qualify for the knockouts in the URC anyway? So we can take that first knockout round away as a freebie. I'm getting so it's all merging together with the Champions Cup and everything. But I'm going to say we're going to have one. I I think the Bulls will sneak in, but they're not going to count because they are going to get decimated in the knockout game. But having said that, though, like the Bulls are a ton of side that really do like knockouts, so there's that. But I'm saying one. There's going to be one good side in there. The rest are going to make up the numbers. How we feel about these knockouts, there's just teams added to make up the numbers. Um, yeah, because it's going to take a lot for the Bulls to turn it around. But having said that, if the Bulls are able to turn their season around and gain a little bit of momentum that they can force their way into the knockouts, then maybe they could upset. Maybe they could Munster it. Maybe they could Stormers it in year one and Munster it in year two. Just come from absolutely nowhere. That's the URC way.
Tella, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, the Sharks are still 5 points away from the knockouts, like from the top eight. Like that's how close things are, I think, near the bottom of the table. Um, just looking at it, obviously the Stormers are sort of high flying. They've got a game in hand over a lot of their near competitors. They're fine. And pretty much from first till sixth, they're all kind of in the same sort of like tier, if I want to put it in tiers. So Stormers, Glasgow, Ulster, Cardiff, Leinster, and Munster are the only teams that have like more wins than losses. And they seem to be, I mean, bar some disaster, they seem to be like the ones that are on their way to be in the knockouts. I mean, yeah, Cardiff could still obviously sort of crumble down, but it looks like they should be six of the eight teams. So basically from Lions onwards, apart from Zebra and the Scarlets, everyone else is pretty much fair game to make the playoffs. That tells me I think there'll be two teams in the knockouts for the URC from South Africa. So the Stormers being one, and then basically one of the Lions, Bulls, and Sharks making it, and then them and either Benetton or Edinburgh or Ospreys or whoever else makes that last place. It would be great if the South African teams could collude and just go, okay, Stormers, you go ahead. Everyone will sort of give you guys 5 points. You have the best chance of winning. And then choose between the other three which team we're gonna like try to boost up with the derby points. So maybe it's the Lions here. Like maybe let's let them have a go at it. Like they seem to actually be somewhat structured, somewhat playing decent rugby, like getting the youngsters through. Maybe it's the Sharks. Like after all of this, like, they are still the team with the most like, Springbok laden quality. I mean, it should be the Bulls, but like we've talked about them just now. Yeah, I think there's room for three, but I think it's probably going to be two that make it.
I can see the headline now. The South African podcasters want the national teams to collude in order to, yeah. I do want to say something. I did not. I'm so sorry, Ringo. I did not even see the Lions in the top 8. I didn't even bother looking for their name, but there they are. So I'm gonna agree. We'll have two sides, whether because someone's gonna get points, someone's gonna mess it up for someone, but the Lions, yeah, two sides. Maybe the Lions, maybe the Bulls.
I think it's going to be three. That's my big prediction. I don't know. I think it's going to be Stormers. I think the Bulls will turn around because eventually the Bulls eventually start playing some URC games at Loftus. Like they have to start playing games at Loftus eventually. I think the Bulls, and I think the Sharks can do something, pull themselves towards themselves, and find themselves in the eighth place position and become the last, and then might get a Stormers Sharks quarterfinal.
But the Sharks are going to mess it up for someone. That's
exactly what we're going to do.
That's what the Sharks are going to do. They're going to, like, the Sharks are going to make it in 8th spot, and then they're going to go on and beat the Stormers in the first knockout game, and then take 600 points in the semi-final. That's the kind of vibe. That's the kind of Sharks vibe I'm getting.
Exactly what you're trying to do. It's exactly what you're going to do.
That's anyone but the Stormers, eh, Kooks?
Yeah, that's my big take. Is that I think the Sharks could sneak in there. I think the Bulls turn around. I think the Sharks will get in, and then quickly your guys' URC winner.
I'll go first. Like, there's something about the Stormers. Like, we've kind of talked about it. Like, yes, they've been playing a bit of like hilarious head loss rugby in some cases, but it feels like they've filled the gaps that maybe have been sort of forming from the last few seasons of, losing the likes of Dion Fourie, Hachiva Daimani. Well, they lost and then regained JD Schickerling, Joe Dweba, like, those sort of stalwarts that helped them to the URC. They've kind of filled the gaps there. Paul de Villiers is in insane form. Andre Smith makes a lot of contributions in that sort of lock flank sort of role. Like, I don't think it can get much better than having Murat, Van Heerden, Schickerling, and Andre Smith be your lock rotation. Like, I don't think you can get much better than that in any club in international rugby right now. They have a strong scrum. Like, the likes of Vermaat can still do a job against the tight head that has been sort of killing off every loose head that he meets in his path. Like Vermaat was holding his own against Volkolo. Tunu obviously is more than capable as well. They still have the likes of Porton that are going to come in and Vukuzela. So there does seem to be that depth. There does seem to be that like unity and purpose. They seem to be on the same page where it seemed like the last few years, people, yeah, we've talked about it. Like, Playmaker seemed like they were doing their own thing, and Dobbo just seemed like he was sort of shrugging along. Like, there is something about the Stormers. I'm really impressed by how well they're playing and how, like, players that we were like, oh, I don't know if they're gonna, amount to something here. Like Simelani's in good form. He's really sort of reestablished himself. Leolan Zas is still such a consistent performer for them, and I don't necessarily think he needs to be a Springbok or anything, but like he's been doing his job. Hartzenberg has been a really good squad player. Like, Ungra has been really important and vital for them. And, he's more than filled the gap when Kobus Reinach hasn't been available. So there is a squad there that can go all the way. I think the question for the Stormers basically is if I mean, they haven't really collected as many bonus points as maybe a Leinster would in the same situation where they build this big gap. But if and when they start losing and obviously go away and maybe drop a few games, will they have enough of a gap that they can make sure that they host a final against Leinster? That's sort of the big hypothetical is as far as possible, we want Leicester coming to Cape Town and not you traveling to Dublin. So I think a Stormers Leicester final looks the most likely. Look, out of the other like main contenders, Munster obviously are going through a dip in form. Ulster have been really impressive, but it feels like they're always an injury or two away. Um, Obviously Cardiff have been good, but Wales rugby, dot, dot, dot. And then obviously Glasgow, I think they would be probably my third, like, they would be sort of the dark horse out of the three. So I would say it's Stormers Leicester final, but if Glasgow come into the mix, I wouldn't be too surprised.
And you, Shoki?
I just want to touch on what you mentioned there, Thala. Leinster arguably were the most squaddy build-up tournament win that the URC has ever had. Every other winner has really come from nowhere and gone with their first choice guys in really big games and almost gone like a round of 16 knockouts. Like they've gone a knockout beforehand and then had to win this game and then gone into 3 knockout games to win it. Where Leinster last year were the first time, I mean, I know they've had a lot of opportunity, but they were the first kind of squad. The Stormers, you are 100%. The Stormers have more squad vibes than anyone else in the league besides Leinster at the moment. And we're talking about like form and confidence and balance. And the Stormers are they're looking like they deserve it, but deserving the URC title and winning it are two totally different things. That's the one thing we do know about this competition. I'm going to go Ulster.
Oh,
And it's really hard to pick a winner because there's still so many options there. I'm going to say Ulster make the final is going to be my little bit of a cushion there. They are looking really good. And you're right. There's one major injury in potentially 3 spots that could derail their whole season, but they are looking good. They've got a really big and they've got options in the back line. They've got a really big set of backs. They've got guys that can move around. They're very confident. They've got like the greatest Moneyball signing in the history of the game in Vanna Kok, who can play anywhere. If you tell the guy he's going to bench, he'll still thank you for it because you're trying something new, and then he'll come on and work his way back in. Like, I think they're looking good. They've got a couple of guys coming back from injury, and I also feel that they have turned the corner in terms of dusting that chip off their shoulder. like Munster had to do, and everyone else has done in Irish rugby when it comes to facing Leinster in a knockout game. I think Ulster might be able to overcome that. However, there's still a little bit of doubt there because the game that they lost was it against Leinster. So I'm going to go Ulster. Ulster have impressed me the most, but that's only because the Stormers are the absolute obvious choice, and rightfully so.
Yeah, I think I'm on Tyler's side. I think Stormers Ulster Stormers Leinster final. I think Stormers for me, for me, it's the fact that if the road of the playoff least goes to Cape Town, I think they're going to be very hard to beat in Cape Town. And also, this year I think their greatest trick is the way they've been able to rotate their squad. Like Paul de Villiers was playing very well. He gets rested, and when Ackerman comes in, Knitting for Shea comes off the bench. He can start this week and come off the bench in the other weeks. So you have just the other depth they have, and Kuno coming in, and for Mark. So I think where their depth is now is fantastic. When Ruben van Heerden was on the bench on the weekend, and it just shows. Joe Ferreira is still going to come back. So I'm loving what they have at the moment. I think also adding someone like Kobus Reinach at 9 has been an absolute life changer. He's played the rugby of his life. So I think it's Stormers in Leinster. I think Leinster having won last year, I think they'll back themselves to go anywhere and win. I think Leinster's in that mode of going, we don't actually need to be first or second. Like they feel like they can go anywhere and win. I think Cape Town will be a massive test for them. I think for Leinster they do need a semi-final. I think they need one player to get at home. That could be the semi-final. I think they'll struggle if they come fourth or fifth to go on the road the whole way. But I've got Stormers Leinster in the final. But as we go to the next bit, we're going to go to some international rugby.
I just want to say something. There's one team that the Stormers do not want to face in the final in Cape Town, and that's Munster. That is the only team that don't want to play in a final or a knockout game in Cape Town. So if they can avoid them.
But Peter O'Mahony's gone, so it's fine now. Like
Yeah.
he was.
Yeah, but Crowley's still there. But you have a valid point.
And Tyke Byrne, and yeah, look, Munster. It feels like Munster feel like I don't know, like they obviously started really well. They've kind of fallen off with the Irish derbies, and they're having their annual injury crisis, I'm sure, right now. So, but Munster obviously are built to derail either the Stormers or Leinster's season. And it's just about them kind of like which team is on Munster's path. And they probably destroy the one and then lose to the other the next week. So yeah. Munster and Glasgow, Glasgow is a bit better than like just a destroyer. I think Glasgow just have the general quality to win it all. But yeah, Munster just seem like with obviously all the key players that they have and the world-class players like Tyke Byrne, like Leinster would not be keen on facing them in a knockout game. Like you said, Shaun, I think them and Leinster, Ulster, Kooks and I literally watched it in front of our own eyes. Ulster were so close to winning a knockout game in Cape Town. Glasgow obviously have won a knockout game in Pretoria. Like, look, these 4 or 5 teams, it's literally all former winners except for Ulster. It would be really awesome if those are the teams that are in the semi-finals, or obviously 4 of them are in the semi-finals. So, yeah, they've been the standard this season. They're 10 points better than everyone else. So, yeah, everyone else is playing catch up right now.
The best part about this is Franco and the Warriors fans and Carl Stan and the rest of the players are like, right. Before you tell it, no one actually mentioned their name. They're like, we'll show you. This is like the only ammo they need. So we planned this, guys. We did this for you. Warriors go and win it again. Carl, I would like, please, if you could just shake my hand this time. That's all I'm asking.
Look, I'm a Bulls fan. I fully respect Glasgow. I will never sleep on Glasgow ever again.
You did once and it hurts.
Yeah, I learned the hard way. When you go to some international rugby now, we made our Champions Cup picks last year, but I want some big takes.
Can I change mine?
No,
Because
no.
Toulouse seems like they're not going to make it. They have to now play all these knockout games away. So yeah, I need to jump on a Bordeaux Leicester train very quickly.
We watched you. You're like no. It's not you like you're saying now you're flying now.
it's going to be the hard way that Toulouse has to go through it. But yeah, continue, Kooks.
As we talk some international rugby, there's a massive year with the Nations Cup and, Greatest Rivalry tour, and it's a year from the World Cup. I want to ask you your prediction of the side who has to have a good 2026 internationally. What's that side? I saw you, Sharky.
Who has to have it or is going to have it?
Who has to have a good 2026? Under the most
There are
pressure.
two. There are two. It's the All Blacks and the Irish.
Mm.
Without a shadow of a doubt. I think if I'm forced to make a thing, it'll have to be the All Blacks. I really feel, I feel like I said this last year and the year before, but if they can't pull it together this year, I really think Razor's in a heap of trouble. And he's got an unbelievable fixture list ahead of him to try and drag his ass out of trouble. The only good thing he's got going for him is Russie's not going to go. He's not going to bring out Lance Klusener to pinch hit every single ball. He's going to bring out Oaks to build a bit of an innings and get prepared for 2027. Because Russie doesn't care about what happens this year, not in a negative way. I mean, he's going to go and do what he needs to do. But there are plans that were set up for 2026 back in 2004 in a pub. Like those plans have all been made already. We know that. So for Razor, it's got to be Razor and then very closely followed by Ireland.
Yeah. I mean, to make the Ireland case, like obviously this is a team that just falls in that sort of transition time, and we've talked about this many times about like, okay, what changes do you need to make? Like, who needs to come in? Like, is the Faro system working? Like, does he know that there are four professional teams in Ireland, et cetera, et cetera? So obviously that Springbok loss also, hurt a lot in terms of like, I think especially the picture leaves referees scrum wise, like that might be something they have to get over. And I'll be very keen to see what the next Irish Six Nations squad is. I expect to be, I mean, I'm keen to see it, but I also am expecting no changes or like no big substantive changes. I expect it to be sort of the tried and trusted. I guess the question is, I guess there's two paths. If Farrell decides, okay, I'm going to try to experiment, what happens if there's a loss? Does he then sort of revert back to sort of the regulars? Or if Farrell goes to the regulars and they lose to England or France, I mean, I think they're hosting England and they have to go to Paris. So if they lose one of those two big games, or heaven forbid they lose against Scotland, what then happens to the regulars? Are we then going to see the Israel Chukwus, Paddy McCarthy's, like those sort of people, like really take a role there? I mean, we've talked about it many times. I think Farrell needs to move a lot of those senior players to bench roles and sort of like a bomb squad type of situation, and just back the McCarthys, the actually both McCarthys, the likes of Timony. I mean, he's 30, but someone you can be backed as well. The KCs as starters, and sort of then leave like basically your Leinster over 30 squad to come in and finish games. So we'll see, because I think basically as soon as the first loss happens, and it's been bubbling under with Irish rugby, I think the last few years, there's going to be like big calls for things to change. So either he sort of makes a change preemptively and kind of then throws his hands up, says, I told you so, these guys aren't good enough, and then he can go back to his old players, which maybe would be the sneaky smart thing to do. Or he goes with the older players, they then lose, and then it's going to be like a bit of like, that situation where you're sort of throwing players out. We see it with Scott Hansen in the 2019 World Cup, where now you're not playing Ben Smith, even though he's like one of your best players. Let me make a small quick case for Australia. I mean, in that second tier of teams after behind the top five, Argentina look really good. They look really set. I think all we're asking from Argentina is consistency. That's all good. Scotland, we've all lost hope in. Italy seem like they kind of are building to like, okay, they might be able to sneak maybe a result against the top five. the Wallabies have to manage this transition to Les Kiss, which we are told is going to happen this year. We don't know if it's going to happen this year because Joe Schmidt, I,
Joe Schmidt's going to walk out with a Les Kiss mask on for the first 2 years.
but if this eventually happens, eventually Les Kiss comes in. We need to see, is Les Kiss going to change things or is he going to keep things the same? Because there obviously were results that were working for them, but it just doesn't seem sustainable for the Wallabies and have maybe a smaller squad than other big teams because they can't sustain 14, 15 tests of, that high quality big collision rugby that they're doing. So does Les Kiss maybe change those things? It'll be interesting to monitor.
Thala, you are either all about Ireland, like they've either got to play youngsters or they've got to play the old guys. And I almost feel like you've like that's not an oversight. Like that's how Farrell thinks. Like he's like, I've either got to go these guys or I've got to go these guys. But Farrell's in a position where he's got some really important backline players that are just not performing at the moment. And he has other backline players that are doing relatively well and they're not getting a chance. So that's building frustration. Like the midfield and the back three are a bit of contentious issues, specifically 11 and how they manage 12 and 13. So there's that. But like the biggest thing is how if he starts integrating guys, that's when we can kind of be like, okay, cool, he's learning. But he doesn't seem to be that way. Like he's either all in on, I'm going to give the new coach the job and he can do new things, or I'm going to kind of be myself and give the old things. But he is one loss away from saying, I told you so, or you were right, and then making a full-on change. But then his get out of jail free card's done. Like he's one loss away from having to make a change to whichever the opposite of that game was and fully commit to that for the rest of the time until the end of the World Cup, it feels. It's a very strange place for Ireland.
No, and also I think, Sharky, it is very strange because I feel like my thing is it doesn't look like Andy Farrell is reluctant to change, but I think that for me, like what Tyler said, the only answer is the All Blacks. They just need to have a year where they don't make bad history. Can they have a year where they don't shit doesn't hit the fan once a year, they lose like Argentina or they lose by a record score in Springboks? Can they just have 1 year where can they lose normally if they lose or just sort of find some sort of structure? But I want to run through each competition and then you'll give me your predictions and see who's winning it. Six Nations, I'll start. I think France goes back to back. Everything in me was leading towards England, but I think France, I'm hoping that each side is undefeated going the last game in Paris, but I think France is my sneaky dark horse for the year, but I think France wins Six Nations. Dupont comes back, even Intermark gets back together. I think they just might have too much for England. Tell us who's your Six Nations pick?
Yeah, I mean, France is also, I think, a reasonable answer for this because there's a lot of pressure on Gaultier. Obviously, they didn't win the game against South Africa. I think they would have expected at least one win in that tour against New Zealand. Like the performances didn't seem really that good. They allowed Fiji and Australia to mess around with them, I think, in those home games as well in November. And it just seems like they kind of are trying to transition. Like, I mean, Squid Rugby's done a really good video about like the France approach in the Springbok game where they were trying to be a kick chase team. They're not a kick chase nation. Like that's not a big thing for them. Their wings aren't, we're gonna run around and chase like hopeless balls like that the whole time. Like, you've got the best like grabber chase in the world in LBB. You don't need him sort of doing aerial contests the whole time. So it's interesting to see or to think about how they manage this. And they they need almost a Six Nations win. I almost think they almost need a Grand Slam win, especially because the fixtures are favorable. So it's Ireland and England at home. It's Scotland away and it's Wales away. There's only two away games. It is also at home. So I think France will maybe, they're not a kick chase team. They're not I think I mean, they've got a decent defense they can sort of absorb, but I think they're going to go back to very direct rugby, very like a lot of offloads. We're not going to keep the ball on the ground a lot, and very much like Antoine, you do what you need to do. But yeah, if Galtier doesn't have a good Six Nations, and if Mike doesn't have a good, and look, it's still FFR. Like, there's a decent chance that if they don't win the Six Nations, Galtier doesn't have a job. So, I think France wins the Six Nations, and then they absolutely send the under-17s for the Nations Cup games.
I think it's England.
Mm.
I think England. I think England go on and win this. To be one, which would probably be one of their greatest title wins in their history. Playing France away in the last game, eh?
Yeah, in Paris.
Yeah. Everything that's going on. I wouldn't be surprised if England go back to back ahead of the World Cup just to really blow shit up. I'm all for it, but I think England have gone through enough of this space to do it. But having said that, I mean, Borthwick will have finished the tournament with about 64 players used in the squad and about 38 coaches. So there's that. But I jest. I say England, and I'm saying England because they're really good at the moment and it's well worth the banter. But France and I do feel Ireland still are in the conversation, even though they're slipping. But I think France, England, Ireland are very much in the mix. We could be in for an absolute belter.
I think so. We say this almost every year. It's gonna be this could be the greatest Six Nations, but I think next year is gonna be fantastic. Rugby Championship, Thala, who's winning?
A rugby what?
Rugby
A
Championship.
rugby who? What is that? I don't think they play that anymore.
Oh, that is
That's
good.
something you can
I got so excited. I was like,
drink.
I had to
A
bring
new
it back.
product.
Give it some love. The Rugby Championship, and then I realized we said fuck Argentina and Australia. My bad.
If by rugby championship you mean the greatest rivalry ever, that's something different. Look, yeah, I mean, it's a pity because this actually could have really been like such a good rugby championship.
It could have been, but let's talk greatest. I will leave Nations Cup for last. Greatest rugby tour. Greatest rugby tour. What is your scoreline prediction? I think the Springboks win 3-1. I think the only test the All Blacks
Yeah.
win is that last one where they played in Twickenham, Nigeria, I mean USA, Singapore, Qatar, wherever it's been TBC. No one knows where the test is going to be, but I think the Springboks dig the nail deeper into the coffin of Scott Robertson, and he loses 3 tests here. That would be my ideal world. I mean, I would hate for this, because if I had a 4th test, for it to end 2-2. I would be so angry if it ends 2-2. After 4, I'll be devastated. But I think the Springboks win 3-1.
Kooks, I'm with you, man. I'm with you 100%. 3-1 makes more sense than anything else. If it was 2025, I'd go 4-0 but I just think this year the focus and the plan is going to produce some interesting matchday 23s for Rugby and some changes in tactics, etc. Plus, obviously, the pressure on Razor. But it's really looking like a 2-2 for me. And if that's the case, Kooks, we are just going to have the camera on you and you are going to rant, and that will be the podcast. There will be no intro, no outro, no nothing. It'll just be All Blacks 2, Springboks 2, hear from Kooks.
if it's too old, they'd play again next week. I'm sorry. They're gonna, like, there's no way you're going to go and have the greatest tour and have 4 tests, and it's like, it's too old. I was like, you want to add a test? You stay in America wherever you and play. Do whatever. We get a result. Like something has to
And
give.
they can't play each other in the Nations Cup final either, hey?
No.
Two, and then at the end of November, the final test match of the whole year is South Africa versus the All Blacks at Twickersfontein. Woo! I think we need to start writing a petition now to fix this.
Look, Razor needs it to be 2-2. He needs this to, like, I don't think New Zealanders are expecting a series win. He needs to find a way to win one test in South Africa, go to the undisclosed location, and then make it level to 2-2. Because I think maybe he can get away with the 3-1, but this is sort of the building block that he needs to get some level of momentum for the World Cup and for like making a good assault on it. I want to make 2 side predictions on the greatest rivalry ever. Side prediction number 1, Richie Mo'unga comes back for this tour. I don't think they'll wait until November. I think he'll just come straight back in. Razor's going to sort of push for it. Mo'unga
That
starts.
changes everything.
Yeah, Mo'unga starts one of the, or like at least one of the tests in South Africa. Side prediction number 2, I think one of the South African unions are going to beat the All Blacks. I'm not sure who, and obviously it's going to be pretty much a Currie Cup squad. I know we have this argument about this all the
It'll be
time.
the Stormers or Bulls.
Yeah, I mean, it could be the Stormers, but I mean, technically, in terms of the SA Rugby players agreement, no URC player should be playing in July, but we'll make an exception for this. But I can just see New Zealand going with like a very weakened team, and then them sort of getting like usurped. I think the Lions have that game in between the tests. It'll be very fun if it's the Lions. And then mini prediction number 3, or actually mini, I think more of a question to throw to you guys. How much do you think is the cheapest, will the cheapest ticket be for the Cape Town test? Are we talking 20,000 Rand, 43,000 Rand? Like what are we talking here?
And the blood of your firstborn.
Yeah, that Cape Town test. Oh, you're looking at Thala. Just started 1-5. Yeah, the top.
Okay, I'm selling the house.
That's where you're starting. Started 1-5.
And you watched the game from Table Mountain telescopes.
Yeah, just before you go buy a ticket, just watch the park highlights and watch all the highlights and be like, do I really love these guys? Then look at your family and go, because my family's not going to eat this year. That's really like, you're like, I love these guys so much. And look at the family in the eye, like, you're not going to eat until this test ends because we are going to sit at the side of the pitch. We're going to sit, we're going to make a great view, and we're not going to eat for the rest of the year because it's going to cost us 7,000 Rand each of us to go sit. And you're going to choose between like, and the thing is, I think that the divorce rate might sort of go up this year because as husbands, sometimes you take for the team, be like, you know what, I'm going to go myself. I'm going. And if your wife gives you shit and be like, well, I also want to go, and be like, it's either we get divorced or I go, because I can't afford for all of you go. And I feel like someone has to go for the family. For the family's sake, someone has to represent our family at the stadium. And I rate that I should go. That's the best way to do it. Like one member per family has to go and watch the Springboks. Like that's the best way to do it. And she can come like, oh no, but I've been the last 10 times. You're like, it's fine. You don't have to watch the box. But then the nice thing is for the people in Cape Town, you have the consolation of taking them for the Stormers game. Be like, look, you get to watch. You still get to watch the All Blacks, but they're watching the Stormers. You know what I mean? So it's a consolation. Like, here's the All Blacks, and they'll be like, no, but they're not playing international match. But they're still playing the black jersey. So I don't know what you want to see. You want to see the All Blacks? Here's the All Blacks. I know they're playing the Lions. I know they're playing the Sharks. But here are the All Blacks. You said you want to see the All Blacks. Here they are. I'm watching a test match.
The Kooks might have just put the the thread through the needle with that. That might be the only way to save a lot of South African families. So yeah, Ticketmaster, have the draw or whatever you guys do, however you allocate the tickets, be only one member per family
Yeah.
can go to
The
these
families
games,
don't.
and
The families,
maybe we
the families
find a fair
don't
way
watch
to
the
get one in
Lions,
the stadium.
the Sharks, the Bulls. Those are family days. The other ones are one member per family. Sorry, like we need to keep moving. That's the best way. If you have a digs, if you live in a digs, one member per digs. If you live in like in a hostel, one member per dorm. That's how you're operating here. Can't like and then we'll open up for the rest of the country. Then from there, but I want to go to Nations Cup. I want you guys to predict your finalists and your winner. I think France does the double. I think we beat in France and then in the game, and they beat us in the final.
I just cooked. I just want to ask you, who's France taking to the July
Yeah,
tests? Like
they're
that.
taking the guys now. I've spoken to Gautier. I said enough is enough. I want because I want. I don't understand how badly I want New Zealand to have a bad year this year. Because I want France to go to New Zealand and beat them. First home game. All the fans come back. They're going to speak about, the mana, All Blacks coming back again, the aura. And I want France to end it immediately. Week number one. Week number one, bah! France has beaten New Zealand for the first time since 1994 at home. That's exactly what I want to happen. I want France to then the guys can leave. Then they can leave. Like, guys, thank you. Toodles. We out. But I think France gets credit. I think France gets the final, and I think they'll beat the Springboks. Unfortunately, now the Boks going to
I
win.
feel like the
Dupont
top
gets
14 final
24-hour
clashes
visa.
with.
Antoine Dupont gets a 24-hour visa into New Zealand. He's going to fly in the day of the game, get parachuted in, play, leave. TFC, thanks for coming.
Yes, that's what I mean. The England one is the case to make, but I'm telling you now, in this world, there's nothing that happens. I can see England beating New Zealand beating England in England to basically to fuck up the Nations Cup run.
Look, if it wasn't for the top 14, I would be fully on this because I think the top 14 finals the week before that New Zealand game. So your Toulouse, well, Bordeaux's not doing too well, so Toulon, but Bordeaux, Pau, those players are probably not going to be involved. But it'll be so nice because imagine New Zealand starts to lose against France, even if it's the second or third team. We know Ireland don't have a problem with beating New Zealand and New Zealand, and then they have Italy, and then Italy maybe does something crazy in New Zealand. That would be Razor might not be able to fly out to the greatest rivalry tour if they lose to Italy and France and Ireland in July.
In the
Obviously
sorry, we do.
yeah, he's gonna have to go back to Canterbury or maybe even like Hawke's Bay and try to rebuild his reputation there. But yeah, I'm gonna make the obvious prediction: England, South Africa. I think Rassie pretty much throws this game, gives it to England. Henry Pollock, man of the match. Tommy Freeman and Finn Smith do a stupid TikTok dance. Like vibes are absolutely the highest that they've ever been in England, only to sort of beat them up in the World Cup. But yeah, this Nations Championship is made for England to win it. Like obviously the finals on Twickenham, they've probably got the more manageable draw because they probably will face Fiji in London. I think that's how it's looking like. So then they only have to go to South Africa and Argentina. Obviously not great travel, but I don't think they have a problem with beating Argentina. And yeah, I think it doesn't matter if they lose to South Africa because the other teams have to sort of go to the Pacific. So they'll sort of make it from the north. I just can't see which other team makes it from the south. Maybe Argentina, but that relies on Argentina being consistent every week. And obviously, we're not here yet we're not there to believe in that yet. But yeah, maybe Boffelli coming back in, and maybe there's no Malia, but Boffelli sort of fills that role. Maybe that happens. But yeah, I'm going to go for the boring. England beats South Africa because Rassie wants England to win against South Africa.
I am going to say Ireland.
Oh,
Ooh.
I think Ireland win this to save Andy Farrell for the year.
ooh.
Um, because they don't win the Six Nations, they have to go all in on something else. And I
And
think this,
there's no knockouts in this thing as well, if I'm not mistaken.
no, no, there isn't. It's a log thing, and the two top play each other in
Yes.
the final.
So no knockouts, so Ireland are styling.
Who they play in the final is going to be an interesting one. I think if the Springboks or the All Blacks make it, I agree they probably are going to have made it by having not played their best rugby and their best team, and then just not going to be in it for the final. Like they're not going to change. Like Rassie, for argument's sake, is not going to change his plan if he plays that game. I think he'd much rather not play that game. So he'll be like, listen, if we're going to play this, then then all these new caps can have a go, or whatever. So I am going to say the final will probably be the opposition will probably be between Australia and Argentina. And as we know, Argentina are currently the better side. But I think Ireland win it, and maybe they play Australia, possibly Argentina.
Oh, I like that. That's a massive shout. I do love I do hope that Thala, that Rusty goes full tilt against England, because a lot of people, like, obviously I'm very keen for the game, but if I'm an England fan, that is the best game you could possibly have, because with it, like, England doesn't have to win that game. It's just about going, let's have a full crack at the box, end of our season in Loftus, see where we're at. That's, for me, like, it's as much as the Six Nations is important for them as they're going to win, but for me, that game is probably slightly more important. Six Nations going, where are we actually as a team? Like, go down to Loftus or Ellis Park, best team in the world. Let's see. Okay, I think England has done enough. The next thing, obviously, is try and continue momentum in Six Nations, but see where we're at. If they lose by, say, 20 points, you're going, okay, cool, shit. There's actually a lot of leeway to catch up. But for me, it's more of a fact-finding mission than anything else, of going, where are we? And what else do we need to do to catch up with Springboks? But in saying that, I can totally see Rasta going, you thought you were playing in Sekulis today, and even Elizabeth. No, 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 no. How's about some Murat for you? We're gonna put a Marlon Bok at 10 to start for you. Maybe some Esterhazen, mix it up with a bit of Moody. I can see Rasta doing that, like, oh, you thought you see us Visa at 8. No, yes, Walker Smith at 8 for you, buddy. Oh, you know what? Let's give Nittling for Sheer another run. Let's see where he is at. I like the look of JD Schickling as well. The Indians will be like, oh, so fuck us, basically. And I was like, yep, yes. Like you thought you bring your best team against me and see where you go. So you know nothing, Jon Snow. You have no answers. Actually, go back to England with nothing. But you beat us though.
Yeah, England, I mean, there's three more major championships before the World Cup for England. England has to win at least one of them. I think they're at that stage where we can expect that from them. So obviously the two Six Nations, 26, 27, and then the Nations Championship. In my head, I think they win the Nations Championship and then win the next year Six Nations, and then vibes will be absolutely over the top. Henry Pollock might be knighted by then before the World Cup. Like, Marcus Smith will be in the front page of the tabloids, like all the sort of crazy stuff. But you are right, Kooks. Like, they've got these two big away games this year. France and Paris, South African, I think it's Ellis Park. They just need to be in it after three-quarters of the game and just be like, okay, cool. We've picked up as much as we can from this. Okay, we know certain things we can do to beat France. We know certain things to do we can beat South Africa. And Borthwick might be this, after us, the best one game to save your life tactical coach in the world. Like, he loves planning for a particular game. He will have certain things ready for that. And yeah, maybe if I'm Borthwick, I sort of not, I don't show all my cards right now. I just sort of go with a bit of a playing game and then see, okay, how close are we to I still think the two best teams in the world are South Africa and France. So it's about if England is able to beat one of those two away, England's definitely in the conversation. If they do both, I mean, the hype on England is going to be ridiculous. And we kind of think that might be a good thing for everyone else because nothing better than beating a confident England team. And I love that argument. But yeah, I do hear the argument that like for England, not that it doesn't matter, but this year, those two away games are going to be sort of the testing of them. Like, how close or how far are you from the actual tippy top of rugby? Because I think that first test in Joburg, we've seen now the last few years, South Africa have transformed from a team that's actually horrible in the first test to a team that's really good in the first test. And they will go all guns blazing. It will like that first 20, 30 minutes will be an onslaught. But we also know because it seems like every South African team is horrible in the high felt these days. They'll go bonkers for the first 20 minutes and then tire themselves out. We saw what happened with the Springboks against the Wallabies, the Bulls pretty much every week, the Boks in 2024 at Ellis Park, I mean, in Pretoria against Ireland as well. So again, if England can just be close in those two games, they're well on their way for their minds making a good run of it in 2027.
Yeah, I like to think. I think Sharky said that England to win 2027 as well. 27 Six Nations. I think that's what they need. That will springboard them straight into the World Cup. But lastly, before we leave, Sharky, World Player of the Year 2026. Who's it going to be?
Henry Pollock.
Ooh. Thala?
No, I'm joking. Because I do think he plays a fair bit off the bench. He might get nominated actually, but I'm gonna World Player of the Year. Listen, if Tyler's hunch is correct about Richie Mo'unga, and he comes back and the All Blacks play rugby, he will get it.
Ooh.
But I'm gonna go Joe McCarthy.
Whew. The Irish Dogs are you planning a trip to Ireland at some stage or what?
Yeah, I'm trying to get some discount on the Guinness because it's like £6 a pint or 10, 12 pounds a pint. I think Joe McCarthy.
I'm happy that. I mean, Ireland's have a big year. Thala?
Maro Itoje, it's his time.
Oh,
Like
yes.
he's been very close. He's then thereabouts. I mean, we think England's going to be at least second in the Six Nations this year. I think a lot of us think England will make it quite far in the Nations Championship. Look, number one, whoever wins the Nations Championship will have the World Player of the Year. I think World Rugby would be stupid not to sort of link the two together to make this competition big, like kind of like a Sophie de Goody type of situation where she played 2 months of rugby and then was World Player of the Year. Even though she was on the losing side, of course.
You are falling into this fan vote for player of the match stuff, eh?
Yeah.
There's a very fine line you're operating on there, son.
The trend away rugby at the moment. Mine is so boring. Antoine Dupont. Because I'm backing France.
That is such a great call. It is such a great call because France are going to go deep in the Six Nations, and if France go deep in this pretend World Cup that we're playing this year, like he's going to have to be there, and it'll also everyone will just shit the bed about it too.
And he's come back from injury.
The story!
He's come back from injury. France needed him. He comes back, leads them, grand slam. But also for me, it's also that little reminder of him going, "Hey guys, I'm back. Hey, don't forget. I see Sasha and everyone else, but don't forget, like Peter Steff is doing his thing, and goes, but hey, I'm still here." And I think it's going to be those here. I think it's going to be Antoine Dupont. Because my thing is, like Tally mentioned, France with Galtier, and there's mess, there's issues. If Dupont is on that field, they're at least 15% better. That's and I think last year at certain games they were about 10 to 50% off. And I think with DuPont's, they're just a different side.
I just want to shout out Rugby Past for playing an absolute blinder with their top 100 rugby players in the world right now list and putting Sasha on top. Well played. Like, that is the best sort of like content creation thing you could have done there. Like, don't go for DuPont. You sort of bring back the South African fans in. You pretty much outrage everyone else
Yeah.
by picking sort of the new sort of South African star boy. Like, it is such a perfect hand. Like, and you can always just go, yeah, DuPont was injured and Sasha did these things and all that sort of stuff. So
It's,
I think that was just such a good thing. Look, Sasha has a pretty good chance. Like, we've
it's,
all talked about how good the
I
Stormers
was,
will be.
I was caught between us. I'm like, I think it's Sasha's here. Then it's DuPont. And I was like,
And look, I don't think there's certain players I don't know if they're going to play more than 5 tests. I don't think Peter Steve's going to play more than 5 tests. I think Rassi's going to go, hey, do you also want to eye gouge someone and just get yourself a 12-week break or like just not pick him? There's no real fly half coming in, I think, that will sort of change plans for the box right now. Like, guys, we've seen the fly off stocks beyond the first three. They're not there. So Sasha's gonna
Mani,
play. No, I'm saying
Mani's
Mani.
waiting patiently, eh? That
Yeah, Mani Pollard
your
and Sasha gonna share the 10 jersey. That's what I'm trying to say. There's not gonna be some other guy coming in and getting the majority of the test matches. So I think Sasha plays most of the test matches either starting or off the bench. He'll be sort of the constant where maybe Pollard gets a few games, Lubbock gets maybe more games than Pollard, but Sasha will sort of be consistent, will be playing. And if Sasha's able to take pretty much a ragtag, if I want to call a Springbok team that, like sort of this chopping and changing Springbok team to, winning the New Zealand series, like to the Nations Championship, like the narrative is there for him. Like it'll be his. So I wouldn't be too surprised about that. But yeah, I mean, if the final four is probably going to be something along the lines of DuPont, Sasha, um, Maritoje, yeah, throw in, I don't know, like an
Pollock's got to
RD7.
be there. They
No.
World Rugby, you're right. World Rugby operates on vibes. They operate on fan votes all the time.
but we need.
I mean,
I
what is going to happen to Pollock in that game against South Africa? Like, that's the one thing I'm so like, will he start a fight? Will he get punched by like Eben? Like,
It's Eben's
there's so
first
many
game
things.
back. That's yeah, and Eben's gonna be after the red card. He's gonna be. Do you know? I got a phone call last night, and his name was Bucky's Poetser, and he called me and he told me how to sort this kid out, and I had to listen.
you know, I, I think he has a good game against us. I wouldn't put him past him.
He's a very good player. That's what a lot of people cannot see.
Like
They cannot see that he is really, really good.
all of the debate about him, like when mates, they'll be like, "Oh, he's such a knob." I'm like, "That's fine." I'm like, 100%, but I'm like, "He's also fucking good." And then one guy was like, he's like, "Yeah, but like he didn't play for England in June." He's like, "It was the Lions series. I know he played the Test matches, but he was at the Lions. You know, to be at the Lions and playing with the beat side England." But I mean, my thing is also tell us right. If he didn't go all the way, Itoje is going to be there. But I wouldn't be shocked if George Ford is in the mix as well. So I think he has to be massive for them.
Last year was his year. He's crumbling now. I wouldn't say he's crumbling, like he's actually been playing well for a sales side. But
Are you saying my guy Faz has a chance? Is hashtag bring Faz back? Hashtag bring Faz back? I'm ready for Faz back.
I wouldn't be surprised actually if Owen Farrell's the England number 10 by the end of the year. Like, there's I've done this thing with George Ford before where I've believed in him and he's had the performances and then in the big game like he kind of sort of vanishes. I wouldn't be too surprised if the 10 merry-go-round lands on Owen Farrell by the end of the year.
No, it will be.
to be fair, when you've got the thing is, I think if you play Farrell, I think Borthwick's going to play him at 12, and that changes everything because they currently have such a good 12, 13. They've got two very good 12 options and two very good 13 options, and they've got backups around that. Then
Lawrence,
Farrell
Lawrence,
comes in.
Lawrence has to be 12.
Agree. Lawrence, for me, no, Lawrence has to be 13. Ollie Lawrence is playing, he plays his best rugby at 13. Max Ajoma's got to be 12. You can't play Lawrence at 12 so you can have Slade at 13. You can't have that.
No.
Like, I would rather, if you're going to play Freeman at 13, maybe have Farrell at 12. I
Yeah.
can see that. But Dingwall's been in the mix
No,
so much.
I just think this Premier experiment at 13 needs to come to an end now. They've got one of the best 14s in the world, and you're like, no, we're shifting to 13. No more shifting wingers to 13 now. Kenan Moody's the last one.
No. Freeman first before Moody on current form.
No more. These are the last ones now. Most will make a plea. I'm sick and tired of seeing wingers go to 13. Let the wingers be wingers. That's my motto for 2026. And also, no more test matches at 4 in the morning. Or otherwise, the World Cup will be taken away from Australia. But
no more World Series finishing 2-2.
yeah,
No more.
no more.
I'm preempting that.
I'm going to be nice to World Rugby this year. I feel like they're going to have a good year. They're not going to do anything stupid. They're going to put test matches at stupid times. They're going to make us all happy. They're going to make rugby.
Oh, Kooks, you're in so much trouble, bro.
That's all I want. Guys, what a fantastic pod it's been. Of course, on for the year. We'll be back with more massive weekend of Champions Cup ahead. I know most of South Africans are resting a few players this week, but 2 big weekends of Champions Cup. Then you go back into a little bit of a few derbies. It's going to be fantastic. RugbyBits is back. As you can tell in our predictions, we did not mention Scotland. I'm leaving them for last because I don't want to talk about them because they break my heart. Maybe if I don't talk about them, they won't break my heart. That's my new plan with Scotland now. I'm just going to ignore them. Like when you slide in a girl's DMs and you're sending a message, you don't look at your phone, so it doesn't look at it, like you don't get too anxious. This is what I'm doing with Scotland. I'm not going to look at them. I'm going to side-eye them, then hopefully they will do the things. Like I'm not even going to watch them play against England because I've given up on that game now. Our eyes on the Irish now. If we can beat Ireland, who knows? Who knows? But that's it from me. We'll be back next week. Cheers, guys. Have a wonderful 2026 and looking forward for more RugbyBits episodes.
Ciao, bye-bye.